The moment I saw her standing on my doorstep, holding a suitcase that was way too expensive for the neighborhood, I knew my life was about to become a living hell. And frankly, I was going to make sure hers was too. I looked straight into her eyes, those cold blue, entitled eyes that had watched me cry countless times in high school. And I felt a dark, sweet wave of satisfaction wash over me. The girl who made my teenage years a nightmare, the one who ruled the school with a silver spoon and a venomous tongue, was now stripped of her luxury and forced into my tiny, working-class world. But here's the real question, the one I've been wrestling with. After everything she did to me, everything she took, was I wrong for deciding, right then and there, that I was going to use this opportunity to make her life absolutely miserable? Was it petty? Yes. Was it necessary? You tell me. Let me take you back to the beginning, because you can't understand the true weight of this situation without knowing the history. My name is Maya. I grew up in a town where people either had everything or they were scraping by, and I was firmly in the latter camp. My parents worked 2 jobs just to keep the lights on and put food on the table. We weren't destitute, but we were definitely tight. Then there was Charlotte. Charlotte Kingston. Her name alone whispered of private jets and penthouse apartments. Her father was a tech billionaire, the kind of money that gives people a terrifying sense of untouchability. We went to the same private high school, a place my grandmother's academic scholarship endowment barely covered, making me the token poor kid. And Charlotte made sure I never forgot it. From the very first day, I was her target. It wasn't just typical mean girl stuff. It was calculated, cruel psychological warfare. It started with subtle things like accidentally spilling an iced latte on my only semi-nice outfit before a presentation, or making sure the student council meetings were scheduled precisely when I had to rush across town to my after-school job. But it escalated. I remember one devastating day when I was finally up for a prestigious art scholarship. The one thing that could secure my future and relieve the financial burden on my parents. Charlotte, without blinking, spread a vicious, entirely fabricated rumor that I had stolen one of the school's supplies to complete my portfolio. She backed it up with a fake email chain that looked so convincing, the board believed her. I lost the scholarship. That moment, standing in the principal's office, watching my dreams crumble because of one wealthy, bored girl's malice, that was the breaking point. I transferred schools, finished my education elsewhere, and swore I would never look back. But the scar of that injustice, the knowledge that her actions directly impacted my family's hardship, it never truly faded. Fast forward 8 years. I'm now a successful graphic designer, working freelance, making an honest living. It's comfortable, but nowhere near the Kingston level of wealth. I live in a decent 2-bedroom apartment. I'm focused on my life, my small circle of friends, and trying to forget the trauma of my high school years. Then, the news broke. The kind of shocking news that only happens in soap operas. Charlotte's father, the tech titan, was arrested for massive financial fraud, a scandal that dwarfed everything else on the news cycle. The assets were frozen, the empire collapsed, and the Kingston family was left with almost nothing overnight. It was a spectacular fall from grace. Initially, I felt a detached sense of justice, a simple what goes around comes around. I certainly didn't feel sorry for them. Then came the call. It was my mother. She sounded stressed and slightly frantic. Apparently, the Kingstons, in their desperate attempt to salvage something, had found a loophole. A distant cousin of Charlotte's mother was related to my father's side, a connection so tenuous it was almost laughable, but legally, it established some kind of complex, distant familial tie. Due to the rapid freezing of all their substantial assets, the court had mandated that Charlotte, who was over 18 but had no job, no established credit, and had never lifted a finger for herself, had to be housed by a relative until the legal dust settled. And due to the extremely complicated legal entanglement involving some ancient family trust, that relative was somehow us. My mother, always too kind, felt obligated. She called me pleading, "Maya, she needs a place to stay. It's only temporary, just until the case is finalized." I told them she could stay with you. Your apartment has the extra room, and it's the only option they have left. I remember the blood rushing to my ears. Charlotte Kingston? In my apartment? The girl who cost me my future? I tried to argue, to scream, to point out the history, the sheer audacity of it. But my mother, bless her heart, kept emphasizing that it was a legal mandate, and refusing could cause unforeseen legal headaches for our family. So I was trapped. I had to take her in. The day she arrived, I hadn't slept. I'd spent the night mentally cataloging all the petty, perfect ways I could make her brief stay a living nightmare. And that brings us back to my doorway. The moment she stood there in her ridiculously stylish but now slightly worn designer coat, her face pale with shock and resentment. Her billionaire mean girl facade was cracking, revealing a terrified, helpless woman underneath, but I couldn't find an ounce of pity. I led her into my apartment, which to her must have looked like a broom closet. "This is it, Charlotte," I said, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. "The guest room is down the hall. We have rules." My rules. I didn't offer to help with her suitcase. I didn't offer her a drink. I simply presented the reality of her new life. Rule number 1. She was expected to contribute to the household. Not financially, she had no money, only designer clothes she couldn't sell fast enough. She had to contribute with labor. I immediately assigned her chores. Cleaning the entire apartment, doing the laundry, and the most humiliating, washing the dishes. Charlotte Kingston, the girl who had a personal chef and a maid, was now facing a sink full of my week-old pasta bowls. Her expression was priceless, a mixture of outrage, disgust, and dawning horror. She tried to protest, of course. "This is outrageous, Maya. I'm not a maid. My father will have you sued." I just smiled, a small, cold smile. "Your father is under house arrest, Charlotte. And this isn't a suggestion. It's the rent. You don't like it? The bus stop is 2 blocks away. Enjoy your new commute." The next few weeks were a performance. A magnificent, self-serving performance of passive-aggressive revenge. I watched her struggle to figure out the washing machine. I listened to her complain about the lack of organic, artisanal coffee, while I cheerfully offered her the cheapest instant coffee I could buy. I started setting the alarm clock for 6 a.m. sharp, not because I needed to get up that early, but because I knew she was accustomed to sleeping until noon. I made sure to cook the cheapest, simplest meals, lentils, beans, and rice, things she would never have touched before, and I insisted she eat them with us. Every time she wrinkled her nose, I would simply say, "It's a balanced meal, Charlotte. Plenty of fiber. Enjoy your humble pie." The tension in the apartment was thick enough to cut with a knife. She tried to manipulate me, using her old tactics. The tearful pleas, the attempts at fake apologies, the "don't you know who I am?" demands. But I was immune. Every time she tried, I simply brought up the lost scholarship, the stress she caused my parents, the sheer, unrelenting cruelty of her high school campaign against me. I held the ledger of her past mistakes, and I wasn't afraid to read the balance aloud. She learned quickly that her old tricks wouldn't work in my house. My house, my rules, my justice. One particularly memorable day, I made her take the bus across town to buy a specific brand of low-cost detergent, because I ran out. It was a 2-hour round trip, involving 2 transfers, and she had never used public transportation in her life. She came back looking completely defeated, her designer purse clutched tightly, her eyes red from the city smog and the sheer indignity of it all. I knew it was cruel, perhaps even petty, but watching the powerful girl who used to shatter my confidence now struggle with a simple bus schedule felt like a form of delayed psychological therapy. It was a release of 8 years of pent-up resentment. I was forcing her to face the world as a regular person, a world she had always looked down upon. So that's the situation I was in. I was forcing the girl who destroyed my future to live a life of domestic servitude in my apartment, watching her pay for every injustice, one miserable chore at a time. The legal mandate was the key, the cosmic joke that handed me the perfect opportunity for revenge. But I had to make a choice. I could have been the bigger person, offered her genuine kindness, and forgiven her past cruelty. I could have treated her with simple human decency. But after what she did, after watching my family struggle because of her lies, did she deserve that decency? Before I tell you about the final confrontation and the surprising turn of events, I want you to pause right now and comment below. What would you have done in my shoes? Would you have been the bigger person? Or would you have used this golden chance for revenge? Let me know your honest thoughts. The final confrontation happened about a month and a half into her stay. I came home one evening, tired from a long day, and found the kitchen spotless. Spotless in a way Charlotte had never managed before. The air was different. I found her in the living room, not sulking but reading a book. When she looked up, her expression was surprisingly subdued. "Maya," she started, her voice barely a whisper, no longer the entitled shriek I was used to. "I found your old portfolio." My heart dropped. It was hidden deep in my closet. "The one for the scholarship," she clarified, seeing the panic in my eyes. It was incredible. Truly amazing work. She took a deep breath, and I noticed for the first time that her hands were chapped from the cheap dish soap. I was a monster, Maya. I don't know why I did what I did. I was bored and cruel, and I felt untouchable. I never even thought about the consequences for you. I was just having fun. Seeing this portfolio, seeing how much talent I ruined, how much I took from you and your family, it's been haunting me." She paused, and her eyes, those cold eyes, were now filled with genuine, heartbreaking remorse. "You are absolutely right to treat me like this. I deserve every minute of this humiliation. I have been forced to do things I never thought I could do, like budgeting for food and riding a crowded bus. And for the first time, I understand what real struggle is. I'm truly sorry, Maya." Not just a forced apology, but a genuine, soul-deep apology for destroying your chance. I watched her walk away, and for the first time in 8 years I felt true peace. Not the fleeting, dark satisfaction of revenge, but the deep, resonant calm of true closure. She paid her debt, not through the chores I assigned, but through the genuine transformation she underwent. And I learned that while justice can be satisfying, sometimes, the greatest power is not in continuing the fight, but in choosing to break the cycle of cruelty. So that's my story. It's messy, dramatic, and definitely not black and white. It shows how past pain can push us to do things we might regret, but it also shows the power of human capacity for change. The central moral I'm left with is that sometimes, taking a person's power away is less about making them miserable, and more about forcing them to look at the world they ignored. Was I wrong for what I did initially? Maybe. But I think the outcome proved that even the meanest girl can be humbled. If you were on my side through the whole revenge plot, like this video right now, if you think I should have been kinder from the start, subscribe for more stories like this and share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section below. Did Charlotte truly change? Could you forgive her? I'll see you all in the next story.